Our Marketplace Leaders segment gives you something good for work every time we talk with Rick Goossen, the founder of the Entrepreneurial Leaders Organization. Rick, we want to talk about ethics today.
Right.
Maintaining ethics.
Right.
First of all, how do you define ethics?
Well, I think we have to define ethics from a Christian standpoint. So I think believers would say there's biblical guidelines that provide an ethical framework, a set of principles that help us define right or wrong.
Okay, so that's been a moving target, defining right or wrong.
Right.
And
Right.
what do you do when your ethics are different than the environment that you're in?
Well, I think it's a big challenge because having good ethical standards doesn't always pay off. So I think one thing that business people are quite aware of is that we have to maintain our ethical principles, but the reality is that honesty and good ethical principles don't always pay off in the short term, but we'd say from a Christian standpoint, they are valuable, they're important to our faith, and they will work out for the best in the long term.
Because if you don't stick with your ethics, you've lost your integrity.
Right.
Even though, and so your measuring stick is then your integrity, it's not whether I'll make money on this or not.
Exactly. So I think from a Christian standpoint, we have to think that the values and ethics are important to our faith, to our integrity, and the impact we have in the marketplace. And one thing I'd point out is that ethics can often be quite straightforward. So simply, do what you say. Honor your commitments. That sounds so basic, but we know in the workplace that a lot of people don't do that. They'll be dishonest, be manipulative, and those types of things. So from a Christian standpoint, we're not talking about complicated ethics. We're just talking about let your yes be yes, your no be no, and have an idea of honesty, fair play.
Okay. I think there's a pretty common approach to pragmatism here. Talk to us about how does this work out practically?
Right. So, I mean, the reality is that most people don't function on the basis of doing what's right. A lot of people function on the basis of, can I get away with it? And are there any repercussions?
It's a very tricky, slippery slope when you start going down that, when you say, maybe I can get away with this.
Right.
Do you have any examples of someone who said, no, I'm not going to do that?
Well, I think one good example is a fellow named Lord Robert Edmiston, who was one of our speakers at our conference in Vancouver a couple of years ago. He's a billionaire out of the UK. When he spoke to our group, he just stood up and rattled off a number of really basic principles. One thing he said is, honor your commitments, let your yes be yes, your no be no. And he just went through these really basic things. And that actually separates him from virtually everybody he deals with. That people know if he shakes hands on something, it's as good as done.
It's a deal. No lawyer needed. It's a deal because he stuck to his word. Okay. Marketplace Leadership Points from Rick Goossen. Thank you very much.